Welcome to the Diversify Inspiring Leaders podcast. And today we have Susheema to be our guest, as she's the MD of Sycon, which is a company in the construction space. And that is a very interesting and different industry where we don't see a lot of women. So today we want to ask Susheema about her experience of working in such an interesting industry. And welcome, Susheema.
Sylvia, first of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my journey and maybe some meaningful moments that have shaped me both personally and professionally.
Thank you. So, your journey into leadership has been defined by industry norms. So, what early experiences or pivotal decisions shaped your rise to the top in such a male dominated sector like construction?
My journey wasn't mapped, it was carved. I didn't step into construction because it was easy or welcoming. I entered because I believed this space needed structuring. You know, the kind of industry we operate, it is very chaotic. It needed structuring, it needed empathy, precision, and accountability. And those don't come with gender. In our industry, you have two distinct types of roles. One mostly offsite, where the roles such as design, engineering, planning, QS roles are all offsite. And the second one is the on-site roles, which are the project site-based roles. We do see a lot of women in the off-site roles. However, on-site roles is almost male-dominated. The imbalance is stark. And if you look at leadership roles, we are a statistical exception. However, I must admit that being in such an industry it's a double-edged sword. When you're one of the very few, you're visible and you're noticed. Personally, for me, acceptance didn't come easy. I was often seen through, overlooked, and or maybe politely ignored in rooms where decisions were made. You are prejudged, stereotyped, and often boxed into safer roles. Even inside my own company, there were times I had to make it unmistakably clear. I'm not here to be invisible. I'm here to deliver. No, I had to thump the table figuratively and say, you will listen not because I demand it, but because I've earned it. It did affect me, but it didn't break me. I stayed, I delivered, and I proved my place, not by demanding space, but by demonstrating value. Becoming a JMD at Sycon wasn't about holding power, it was about holding ground. I wasn't waiting for the industry to become inclusive. I chose to lead it in spite of it. Even now, people say, you head construction business vertical. Oh, I thought you were heading consulting business vertical. And I think to myself, that's exactly why I chose the path.
That is really inspiring how you were just, despite the resistance, continued to grow in this specific industry.
Yeah.
You've led complex projects and built respected brands in the sector where resilience is non-negotiable, as you said.
Yeah.
So what were some of the defining setbacks and turning points? And how did they shape your leadership style?
Yeah. If we talk about Sycon, we have delivered over 500 plus projects across geographies, across sectors. However, we've built our reputation not on what was easy to deliver, but on what others hesitated even to begin. We took on projects in places most would shy away from: remote, high security, high pressure zones, from border infrastructure in Atari, Uri, Poonch. These are the names that are floating around in these days, to deep desert installations where the only way to reach The sites were on camelback. We've been where few dare to go. These weren't just construction projects, they were tests of endurance, trust, and leadership. Keeping our engineers and teams motivated in such environments, cut off from the usual comforts, facing logistical nightmares, geopolitical sensitivities, even sometimes hostility, was just about not management alone, it was about the purpose, about making every person believe that what they were building mattered. And they did. They believed because we showed up, we stood with them, not above them. That's how you build a strong and impactful company, not just by building structures, but through conviction, character, and consistency. At Sycon, we did have our share of setbacks, cash flow crisis, delayed client decisions, operational risks. But the sheer faith in leadership, the resilience of our team, and the huge appetite I personally have for taking bold and calculated risks, all of it has compounded into the brand we are today, a brand that is respected for its portfolio, for its spirit, and the consistency in project delivery.
Oh, what a story. So many aspects that, I mean, I didn't know you were working in this kind of remote areas, in deserts and borderlines, and that is recommendable. I mean,
Yeah.
that really takes a lot of guts.
Yeah, we were fortunate enough to have such projects come by to us, and we delivered it successfully. We have done a lot of residential, commercial, healthcare, hospitality in mega cities, tier two, tier three. But these projects, it takes a lot of organizational maturity to deliver such projects.
Yeah, amazing. Wonderful. So, what are the blind spots that organizations still have when it comes to women in infrastructure and construction? And how can we dismantle these quietly, the quietly embedded biases?
Yeah. So, if we talk about blind spot, the most persistent blind spot in our sector is that, especially in construction industry, is that women are often seen as a support function, not as leaders in execution or decision making. It's widely accepted to have women in roles, like I mentioned earlier, in planning, design, no, the offsite, the softer roles, but rare to see them interested with site ownership or commercial accountability. And when a woman does step into the space, it is often met with surprise or even skepticism. But let me tell you this, some of the best project managers I've had so far in our company have been women project managers. Their ability to lead with empathy, to switch from one task to another task with lightning speed, and to make decisions, without ego clouding their judgment. These are the qualities that elevate the entire team. They don't bulldoze through conflict, they try to resolve it. And in construction, that's a superpower. Despite these strengths, one of the biggest challenges women face is in managing their biological dependencies. It could be motherhood, looking after aged parents, etc., etc. The issue isn't their capability, it's the absence of an ecosystem that allows them to thrive without having to constantly explain or justify themselves. And this change has to begin at home within our organizations. It can be start with something as basic as, yet powerful as sensitizing our HR team not to overlook female candidates just because it's a side job. That decision, one decision, can change the trajectory of a person. And the tone of an organization. We need to challenge our own defaults, question our assumptions, and actively design environments where women just don't survive but lead. At our company Sycon, we have made a conscious effort to do this, not just by recruiting women, but by ensuring they have a seat at the table and a culture that respects both performance and personhood.
Wow, that is inspiring because I really feel that having women like yourself at the top of an organization really enables women to thrive in that organization. That's why I feel we need more women in boardrooms and C-suites because they will enable other women
Yeah,
to be able to experience what they need to experience to be willing to reach all the way to the top. So the
definitely.
pipeline issue has very much to do with who is at the top at the moment. And if there's no women at the top, it's very hard for anybody to break into those roles. So I
Yes.
really recommend you and Sycon for the kind of culture you've created and the way you're supporting women. That's so critical. Thank you for doing that. You also mentor and uplift women at grassroots level and leadership levels. And what actionable strategies have you seen work, especially for women in mid-career stage,
Yeah.
to break the glass ceiling?
So I'll talk about like what I generally do outside of my company, um, as part of my social impact uh, events. At the grassroots level, I personally conduct workshops on financial literacy and legal awareness in tier 3 and villages. So these financial literacy and legal awareness workshop, I have seen firsthand how even the simplest information can completely transform a woman's arc of growth. You don't need elaborate interventions. Sometimes all it takes is a spark, a small ignition. Once a woman understands her right to earn, her ability to invest, and her freedom to spend, the shift in her confidence is immediate and powerful. I've seen women who have started out silently observing in these sessions go on to form self help groups, manage small businesses, and in some cases, they have become full fledged entrepreneurs. This transformation doesn't need hand holding, it needs clarity, it needs dignity, and it needs access. At the end of the spectrum, at the mid management level and leadership level, the approach is different, but equally nuanced. You don't need to preach or overly coach them. These women already have the capability. What holds them back, in my experience, where I've done mentoring in a lot of the sessions that you have organized and also otherwise, what holds them back is often internal inhibitions built by years of conditioning, low self belief, low self esteem, and the invisible weight of trying to conform to workplace norms that were never designed with women in mind. So, as leaders, our role is to help them disband those internal narratives, to help them unlearn. Many times, I've simply held up a mirror for them and said, "You don't need permission, you just need to start." I often cite my own journey, how I've stepped into spaces where I was not expected, how I have dealt with being overlooked, and how I've created my own rhythm rather than fitting into somebody else's. Once they realize that the first step is theirs to take, the growth is exponential. You can see it almost like watching someone come into full bloom after years of being boxed in. So the real strategy is to see them, not really see them, understand them, believe in them, and help them see themselves differently.
I think you have been a wonderful mentor to several of our Global Leader Certification participants. Thank you for doing that. I think what you just said, how you actually help them gain confidence in themselves and not hold back and start actually their real career journey
Yeah.
is wonderful. Thank you so much for being a mentor. And that is very, very appreciated from Diversify and all the mentees that you have already mentored.
In
Thank
addition
you.
to just being a mentor, Sylvia, every time I take up that session, there is so much of learning happens for me. So I always enjoy these sessions. Every session, there's something for me to take away.
Thank you. So I have a couple more questions. So the construction sector is being disrupted by ESG, tech, and new talent mindset. What excites you the most about the future, and how are you positioning your organization and your team in this new era?
What excites me about this era is that the rules are being rewritten, and those who are agile, ethical, and imaginative will lead. ESG is just not a mandate anymore. It's becoming a mindset shift. Today, technology is no longer a support function. No, it's the center on how you build, how we plan, and how we monitor. And talent, especially the younger generation, is demanding purpose, not just pay. All their basic needs are taken care of. So what they want to see is the purpose. What am I doing here? Is there any impact that is being served? At Sycon, we are embracing this shift in every direction, from embedding sustainable practices to digitizing our processes to creating interdisciplinary project teams that bring tech, execution, and ESG alignment under one roof. But transformation isn't just about systems, right? It's about people. We are actively reskilling our teams, bringing in younger talent, and encouraging a two-way exchange between experience and innovation. I personally lead huddles where we don't just discuss deliverables, we question what kind of value we are creating. However, the biggest shift we have today is cultural. We are moving from a compliance led culture to a consciousness led culture where people ask, is this decision just viable or is it also responsible? That's the shift our company and I'm most invested in. Because the future of construction is not just about speed and scale, it will be about conscience, adaptability, and leadership that thinks and looks beyond these handovers.
The construction industry, I can definitely relate to. So many new ways of building have become available, including D3D printing and other things. So it's a
Yeah,
very interesting way of thinking about the future and how to implement it.
yeah. I must say, construction in the construction industry, the technology advancement is was the lowest only after agriculture. Now we see that there is so much more opportunity, and we are in good times, to take
Mm.
embed tech into everything you do.
So last question is, you're wearing multiple hats
Mhm.
as a leader, as a mother, as a mentor, as an industry voice. How do you anchor yourself amidst it all? And what keeps your leadership purpose driven?
I think this is a very tough question to answer. Yes, I do wear multiple hats. The hats may vary, but the head, the heart, and the values beneath them remain the same. I've never believed in compartmentalizing my life. Each role feeds the other, strengthens the other. My daughters keeps me grounded. They remind me why I must keep pushing boundaries. My team stretches me. They challenge me to stay current, real, and compassionate. And my industry responsibilities hold me accountable to something larger than myself. Beyond the company, I also hold roles in industry and trade bodies. These spaces are not always easy to navigate. There's politics, there's hierarchy, and there's deeply entrenched norms. But I stay patient, keep showing up, and today I hold influential leadership positions that in these organizations that has a voice in policy making, impact trade facilitation, and help create tangible opportunities for the broader industry. That's not just a seat at the table, it's the ability to shape what the table looks like for others. What anchors me is a simple truth. I'm here to build, not just succeed. Build careers for women who have never been told that they belong in boardrooms or on project sites. Build trust in a sector that can often become, very transactional or cynical. There are moments that pierce deeper than any award or accolade I receive when my daughter tells me, "You are my role model," or my father says, "I'm proud of your achievements." That kind of validation lives quietly inside you and keeps you rooted also. When I feel overwhelmed by so many things happening around you, and the stress and strain these roles bring with them, I remind myself of an employee who had worked with us for over 5 years and wanted to move on for other opportunities. She walked into my cabin and said, "You have changed the way I see my future." You see, that's not a project milestone, that's the purpose. So, what keeps me purpose driven is the belief that leadership isn't about how many people follow you, it's about how many people rise because of you.
It's a wonderful statement at the end. Thank you so much for joining us today for this podcast. And I really hope there's a lot of women who get inspired by watching this video and seeing there's a role model out there like yourself who really, really help other women succeed. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Sylvia. It was a pleasure having this conversation. Thank you so much.